Okay, hello. I wanted to make a video. I haven't been able to for a while. I made one, and it was kind of the mute, and so I want to try this. I'm sitting in the car by the park. I tried to do it last night at my place, but it was just too loud. Had too much traffic going by, and I got a long-term sub position that I've been doing things I haven't done in over a decade. So they had to set me up with this computer program that's being used. I had to do grade papers and set up some lesson plans and then get out a progress reports. I've been busy doing that. I'm going to be doing 2 government classes and a U.S. history class, which is kind of fortunate because it's going to be what I'm talking about. And then I want to do, at the end of the quarter, I want to do 2 more history government classes because they're a semester and they're doing them in a quarter each. So I've been having to do that, and that's kind of kept me busy. But I want to, read the Constitution to them. I think they should know. And I've read, like I said, I read some books on the formation of the Constitution this last year, so I kind of got a good idea of that. And before I begin, I want to talk about our classmate, that we lost, Fishy, and she's a remarkable woman. I want to miss her smile. Every time I saw her, she had that great smile, and she'll be missed. And so, rest in peace and prayers for Fishy. But I also want to talk about on our class page, I see all the people, writing their condolences on that. And once again, I see people that I know voted for Trump, people that I know voted for Biden on there. And so, like I said, we're not adversaries. We shouldn't, have a vitriolic reaction toward each other for who we vote for. We need to understand why, our views on why we vote how we do and have a discussion. And I've been thinking of what is a big overall arching concept or goal that we can all work on. We can work toward, that we can agree on. And I think I kind of come up with something that what I would say, I think, see who would agree with it, is, I want to have a country or a nation of free and prosperous people that live in peace. And I think that's a good goal for us all to say, hey, let's all work toward that. And we have that agreed on, and then we work on how to get there. And I want to talk about what do we mean by that. And so for freedom, as I was going to do a video on the preamble to the Declaration of Independence, which I'll probably still do, government was formed to protect our freedoms. Life, liberty, pursuit, and happiness is inalienable rights that we have that governments are formed to protect. And so, what does it mean that we are free? And I've been in other countries where we don't, where we take for granted our freedoms, and I see them being eroded for one reason or another. And I think a lot of it comes down to this concept of power, who has power. And so they're looking at cultural Marxism to take group power from one group to give to another, and that concept is going to erode freedom in working on it. And so it's like, who's in power in CEOs of corporations and law firms, or directors, people in Hollywood, people in the music business, who has power. And I think that doesn't matter, okay, as long as we are free to pursue our own lives without any hindrances. Because about these people in power, none of them have power over me, okay? The only ones I worry about is the political class, because they can do things that can screw me up and screw up the country. If you go back to the financial crisis over a decade ago, that was a direct result of, what the political class did. Everything else was, from that. If the political class didn't do what it did, it wouldn't have happened. And so we see the political class screwing up, and that's the only thing I'm really concerned about. Those people in power can really screw up the lives of everybody else, and they can erode freedom in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean that freedom, we are unaccountable. We're accountable for the decisions that we make. And, my dad instilled in me, that anything I did, I would have a consequence, good or bad, So we were taught, that and we had to follow certain rules, and that any decision we make, we would suffer the consequences of them. And we're starting to get to a point where I'm seeing a lot of decisions, like I talked about in the student loan thing, where people are making irresponsible decisions that other people are having to pay for. And I call this, responsible people are starting to subsidize irresponsible people, and we can't continue if we do this. This will erode our freedom doing that. But going back to my life as a free person, I probably have considered the least amount of power as a substitute teacher. And they can easily just get rid of me and say, we don't want you anymore for whatever reason. I'm parking a lot fast. But as I explained to students, I says, you're going to go out in the workforce. Each of you need to be able to take problems away. That's how you stay employed, for the most part. You take away the problems. And so if you look at my position now, we have, for whatever reason, a teacher that is not able to be there. And so that causes a problem for the school and the district. And so I'm able to be in there because I have the knowledge. I've been doing this for a while. So they can say, okay, we have somebody to take in there. And I take away a problem because the principal of the school, the assistant principal that's working with me on this, the people that set up the computer programs, the people that, the history and government teachers, the school secretary, and everybody else, they got a lot on their plate. And so they're not just going to get rid of me just because. In fact, I have a certain amount of power because they want to keep me happy so I don't just walk up and leave. And so I'm kind of just left alone. I'm given what I needed to do my job, and then I'm left alone because they got so much other thing to do, and I'm taking away a problem. So the fact that they may have power in the structure, I do have a certain amount of power myself because I'm competent in what I do. And so we need to guard liberty, is like us being free, and that's what I want for everybody, to be free. Now, it doesn't mean that we interfere with the freedom of other people. And sometimes there's competition for a job, that two people competing for a job, just because one person will get the job over another doesn't mean that the person that got the job interferes with the freedom of the other person. That's not what that means. The second part is talk about prosperity and what does it mean to be prosperous. And I've been overseas, and I say, we have, as a country, we're a prosperous country. Even the poor among us, have a house for the most part with electricity. You have the homeless situation, and that's usually attributed to probably, drug use if they really look at it, or the political class screwing up. But for the most part, I live in a simple one-bedroom apartment that suits my needs. Okay, I'm able to make enough money to do that, pay my bills. I don't have a TV. I haven't had it since I moved here, and I got rid of all my debt, so I'm in a good place. Okay, and I have the things that I want, and each of us values different things. A lot of other people are not going to value the amount of books that I have and the space I need to keep my books. And I know a few people that are Facebook friends of mine that will do that, but most of you won't. You value other things, so we each will value different things, either material or service-wise. And the government should set up a framework to allow each of us to pursue prosperity in a legitimate means as our talents and skills avail to us, and aptitudes and abilities and desires. And so that is what I mean by being prosperous. Now, over the summer, I started a series of videos of stuff in the past, and one of them was Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where the kids were at the mall and they were in a video arcade where you had Centipede and Asteroids, Defender, and Space Invaders. Remember those games? Now, kids carry that in their pocket. I've seen them, especially boys, will play games. They'll play video games on their phone. Okay, they carry an arcade in their phone. We do not go from having an arcade to having all the games on our phone without prosperity. and prosperity that everybody benefits from. And so we all, whether or not, social media and stuff, it's a different video, but we all benefit from people with ideas that make a lot of money. So the phone companies, Apple with the iPhone when it came out, people benefited from that. It's also not only that, the social media, the Snapchat and Instagram, that are different companies that are doing this, that probably wouldn't be able to do it without somebody doing the smartphone, without somebody else doing how to figure out how to make a glass screen touchable. So these are all different peoples that have freedom, and they become very prosperous. But we also become prosperous as a people doing this. And you can go back to the Robert Bell and Gilded Age, John D. Rockefeller, with the oil. Okay, the thing that he made with oil was kerosene, and because of kerosene, people were able to light their houses cheaper, and they did not have to use whale blubber. And so the whaling industry just kind of died out. But he had a byproduct called gasoline that he didn't know what to do with until the automobile was kind of invented, and then we used it for that. And so as we become more prosperous, if we are able to pursue prosperity, our lives, our standard of living is getting better. But we're so concerned about relative income to, this person has whatever else has, instead of, being grateful for what we have, and pursuing our own personal prosperity based on and being rewarded based on our abilities. And that's what I mean by prosperity. And the government should provide a framework to allow prosperity to happen. That's part of what the Constitution was about, setting guidelines so contracts are enforced and commerce can take place. And that's part of what I want to have for us, is to have that framework in place so various people with various ideas can make money. I don't mind them making more money than I do, because they might come up with something that's a good idea. And just to give you an example of me, I don't like to cook. I have kids in the group home that do, but my cooking amounts to scrambling eggs in one of those little porcelain bowls, and maybe microwaving refried beans, or maybe once a month, cooking ground beef, making burritos. That's the extent of my cooking. And I don't eat out that much. But I'm able to eat healthy in a very inexpensive way because of the prosperity of our country. That the amount we pay for food is small relative to people in other countries. So we have a country that we are prosperous. And I want us to remain that way and not have the political class screw it up. And the last is to live in peace, And what do I mean by that? Well, think about it. You go to work, you come home, and for the most part, you are assured that as you leave your house, it's going to kind of remain the same. You're not going to be robbed. You're not going to have stuff taken. And at the beginning of the government, they talk about why we have government. And they have two philosophers. One's Thomas Hobbes. One is John Locke. And they talked about the need for government, because if they didn't have it, we would be in this primal anarchical state where we wouldn't try to accumulate anything, because as soon as we leave, somebody else would take it without consequence. And that way we would not be in peace. So if you can imagine that if any of you went off to work and there's a 75% chance that stuff would be missing because of the crime rate was so high, that is not living in peace. Okay. So the part of the government's job is to mitigate the criminal element, the criminal mindset, and deal with the criminal mindset. So crime is as less as it is. Okay, that's why you try to take away the standing your ground laws. I'm against that. In Texas, that woman tried to come up with the idea of, well, the people that are robbing you need it more than you do. Well, that's wrong answer. Okay, people don't accumulate stuff, buy whatever things they want to have, just to have somebody else that needs it more take it on a whim and with no recourse. Then people would not buy anything at all in the first place. So it's part of what the government does to provide peace. We have that stress-free and stuff that for the most part, we're going to be relatively free of crime where we live. And that's what the government should be working on, is, mitigating the crime. And next, you think about when I talked about hate with the three regimes of Mao, Stalin, and Hitler. Okay, those people didn't live in peace because anytime they could have the knock on the door in the middle of the night and they're gone. Do you think they had peace if they knew that for whatever reason the police can just come and take them? Or they know that their neighbors all of a sudden one day they're there, one day they're gone? And so the people that want this, that think communism or socialism is a good idea, that's the future. You don't have peace in those societies. And I want everybody to live, close to stress-free as possible, live in peace so they can be assured that, I want to see kids out in a park playing where they're free of, you don't have to worry about anything. You can let them play free as we did, okay? We played all the time. And our parents, for the most part, didn't worry about it. Except, we might do something stupid like play Evel Knievel and get messed up, but, that was just on us being, knucklehead little kids. So we need to look at, okay, can we agree on this, regardless of who we voted for, as something to work toward? We're not, maybe we're not there yet, but to be a nation of free and prosperous people living in peace. And I think that's something that I think we can all agree on. Now, there's going to be those that don't, and trust me, there are those that don't believe in that, and those are the adversaries. And that's who we both, on both sides, need to work against. And that's kind of it on this video. I want to see how it worked out. Hopefully it did. Once again, rest in peace, Fishy. I'm out.